The walls were white, too white, like the kind of white that burned your eyes after staring too long. Cold lights hummed above, never turning off. In the corner of the lab, strapped to a thin metal bed, lay a girl with tangled black hair, her eyes half open but never blinking. Her name was Alina, or at least, that's what the doctors had called her. She didn't remember ever choosing it herself. She didn't remember much at all. Just pain, and voices behind glass, and needles sinking into her arms every morning. She was 17, or 16. They never told her for sure. They just kept testing her. No one spoke to her like she was human. No one ever smiled. The scientists wore silver suits, their faces covered by black masks with red lights glowing at the eyes. Some didn't even speak English. Some weren't even human. Their hands had too many fingers. Their shadows moved wrong. But they all shared one goal: testing her blood. They called it Project Spark. Didn't know what that meant, but she had heard them whisper about awakening power and the prototype that speaks to the ship. It never made sense to her. How could she speak to a ship? But something strange had happened last night. Alina had been dreaming, but it didn't feel like a dream. It felt real sharp, loud, alive. In the dream, she was floating in a place with no ground, only stars. A voice called to her. It didn't sound human. It wasn't words. It was feeling warm, protective, curious. Then she saw it, a giant silver structure drifting in the dark. A ship, unlike anything she had seen in the lab's hidden hangars. It was alive, breathing, watching her. And then, with a voice like thunder wrapped in silk, it had said something she didn't understand, but somehow she knew what it meant. Creator, awaken. When she woke up, her restraints were broken.
Ow.
The metal cuffs had snapped like paper. The power to the room was gone. Lights were flickering. The hallway alarms screamed. But instead of running, she sat up slowly, like she had always known this moment would come. Her heart didn't pound. Her breath didn't race. She felt calm. Colder than the lab itself, but sharp, focused, dangerous. The guards came in with weapons drawn. Their suits looked like armor. Their voices barked orders. One shouted something about containment breach. Another screamed to call the overseer. But the moment they stepped closer, something happened. The walls shivered. The floor cracked beneath her feet. A pulse of invisible energy blasted out from Alina's chest like a silent scream. Everything in the room exploded outward. The guards were thrown against walls. Glass shattered. Alarms fried. Lights burst. And yet she stood there, untouched, glowing faintly blue from her skin. She didn't know how she did it. She didn't know why she could. But in her mind, the voice from the ship returned quieter now, like a whisper behind her thoughts. It was calling her. It wanted her to come. It was waiting for her. Somewhere deep beneath the lab, buried in the dark, was a ship. The real reason she had been locked away. The one object no one on Earth had built. It hadn't come from the stars, it had waited in them. For her, for centuries. The scientists had found it by accident, under the Arctic ice. And when they brought it back, it didn't speak to any of them. Only her. Alina didn't waste time. She moved through the broken door, past the bodies of stunned guards. Red lights flashed across the halls. Panic spread. Sirens screamed words, like breach and asset loose. But no one could stop her now. And something inside her was alive, something ancient, something no human had ever felt before. She wasn't just part of Project Spark. She was the spark and the ship. The one no scientist could control had already chosen her. Not as a pilot, not as a weapon, but as its creator. And it was about to wake up too. The room wasn't a room anymore. Not for Ava. After the escape from the cold lab, she had run through dim corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. Their walls humming with a strange energy she had never felt before. Her bare feet slapped against the metal floor, each step echoing louder than the last. Somewhere behind her, she knew the scientists were searching cold, cruel men with needles, scanners, and commands. But they hadn't followed her here, not yet. Not into this section. This place wasn't part of the lab. It was older. Or newer. She couldn't tell. The walls were dark gray, curved, and breathing. That's how it felt, as if the corridor itself was alive. Pulsing gently like lungs, like veins carrying something deeper into the ship. Yes, ship. That word struck her. She didn't know how, but she knew this wasn't just a facility. It was a vessel. It was waiting. She turned a corner and stopped cold. Before her stood a door, but not like any door she'd ever seen. Number handle, no hinges, no keypad. It was smooth and silent, made from a dark glass that seemed to absorb light. Her reflection shimmered across its surface, but then something else moved behind it. Something big. Ava froze, heart pounding. Her breath fogged the air. She stepped closer, and then she heard it. A voice. It didn't come from the hallway or behind the door. It came from inside her mind. It was deep and ancient, soft like wind whispering through a canyon. But it carried weight like thunder trapped in a whisper. "You have returned," Ava gasped, stumbling back. Who's there?" she whispered, looking around, but there was no one. Just her and that door. The voice came again, clearer. "Now, we recognize your mind. You are the architect, or the lost hand." Ava blinked, confused. "What are you talking about? I don't know you. I'm just a girl. They experimented on me. I don't even know where I am." There was silence for a moment. Then the door melted open, literally melted, as if the materia knew she had come and was happy to let her in. Behind the door was not a room. It was a chamber, vast, endless, like standing at the heart of a black hole wrapped in light. The floor had no corners. The walls shimmered with symbols she didn't recognize but somehow understood. A console in the center glowed softly, as if it had been asleep for a very long time. Ava stepped in. The door sealed behind her without a sound. Why are you calling me the architect?" she asked, her voice shaking. The chamber responded. Not with words, but with images, flashes, memories, not hers. Planets burning. Ships fleeing. A war in the stars. A race not human falling. One last hope. A creation. A girl. With alien code, but human blood. Grown in a lab. Hidden from those who built her. Until now, Ava dropped to her knees. "No, that can't be me. I'm not a weapon. I'm not a creator." But the voice was patient. "You were never meant to remember. You were meant to awaken." Tears filled her eyes. The images were too strong. It's too fast, like entire histories flooding into her at once. Still, part of her felt drawn to the console. Her hand rose not of her will, but of something deeper, instinct, or fate. When her fingers touched the glowing surface, the ship reacted. Lights exploded around her. Symbols danced through the air. The floor trembled with a low hum. It wasn't pain, it was power. Raw, alien, familiar. System activation. Ava unit online. Command link restored. She didn't know what she had done, but far away, deep within the earth, and even beyond the stars, something had woken up. Something had felt her touch. Something that had been waiting. For her, and back in the lab, alarms were now screaming. The scientists had realized. Their mistake. Too late. The ship didn't just light up, hit, breathed. That's how it felt to Ava. As her trembling fingers remained on the glowing console, the air around her changed. It grew warmer, richer. The metallic scent of the corridors faded, replaced by something impossible, like the clean scent of rainfall on a forest floor, though there was no forest here, only metal and energy. Her heart was still pounding, her thoughts crashing against one another like waves in a storm, but her body had gone calm. It was like every cell inside her was responding to a call she didn't know she could hear before. Lights ran across the floor, and up the walls, like rivers of data. The console lifted slightly and rotated, its shape shifting to match her size and reach. It wasn't just activating for her, it was adjusting to her, as if it knew her better than she knew herself. She wanted to pull back, to run again, but something deep inside said stay. It wasn't fear anymore. It was belonging. Then the voice returned, clearer than ever. Ship core reconnected. Neural link stabilized. Command authority confirmed. Creator class Ava 17. Ava backed away, shaking her head. No, I'm not a commander. I didn't create anything. I'm not who you think I am. But the chamber didn't argue. It didn't force her. It simply responded. It's like an old friend reuniting after lifetimes apart. You were hidden, disassembled, broken into memory and flesh. But we remember. Your code matches the prime design. You are not only creator, you are key. The floor shifted again. A new platform rose in front of her. This one was smaller, like a pedestal, and floating above it was a shimmering orb, constantly changing in color and shape. Ava felt something pull at her, not physically, but through time. Like this object had known her before. She reached out. The moment her fingertips brushed its surface, the chamber vanished. No sound. No warning. She was no longer standing in the ship. She was in space, but not real space. This was a memory, or maybe a projection. She stood on nothing, surrounded by a sweeping galaxy filled with ancient stars, twisting wormholes and black ships that stretched for miles. Some looked human, others didn't. Then came the war. A war not between planets, but between beliefs. One side wanted to conquer, the other wanted to survive, and in the center of it all was her face. Not her human one, but a figure with glowing eyes, standing tall, arms stretched to the stars, commanding fleets with just thought. Ava gasped. She dropped the orb and the vision faded. The chamber returned. She stumbled, her breath ragged. Her hands trembled. What had they done to her? She wasn't just a test subject. She wasn't even just human. She had been someone something long ago, and this ship remembered suddenly. Alarms sounded from deep within the corridor. Real ones this time. Red lights flashed. Voices barked orders through echoing speakers. "They've found me," she whispered. But the ship responded first. Hostiles approaching. Defense systems online. Directive, protect the creator. Adalek. Panels opened around the room, revealing weapons unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Floating drones lifted into the air, forming a silent wall of protection. The ship's walls pulsed brighter now, like it was angry, like it was alive. Then the ship did something Ava didn't expect. It spoke to the attackers. A deep voice thundered through the corridors beyond the sealed chamber. "You will not touch her. She is not yours to control." "Out!" the men outside shouted. Some tried to override the doors. Others fired weapons that did nothing. The chamber remained sealed. Ava stood in the center, surrounded by light, power, and truth, no longer lost. No longer a prisoner, but not yet free either. Because somewhere, out there, something else had awakened when she touched the ship. Something bigger than the lab, bigger than Earth. Something that still remembered the real war. The walls were no longer just walls. They were alive, breathing with colors and data reacting to her heartbeat, matching her breath. Ava stood frozen in the center of the glowing chamber, unsure if she was still Ava, or someone or something else entirely. The ship had called her Creator Class. It had shown her memories that weren't hers but felt like pieces of her soul had once lived in them. She had no memory of commanding ancient fleets or touching the stars with her mind. But now, something inside her was waking up, slowly, reluctantly, and dangerously. The noise from outside grew louder. Men shouted commands. Boots slammed against the metal floor. Weapons charged. The ship responded before she could think, threat level increasing. Full lockdown initiated. External forces identified. Earth-based, unauthorized, Earth-based. So the people chasing her were from Earth. The ones who called her Subject 12. The ones who strapped her down, tested her blood, injected her with alien DNA, or maybe tried to remove it. She remembered Flash's cold rooms, bright lights, wires in her spine, and a voice saying, "She's not entirely human anymore." But what if she never had been? Before she could think further, the floor beneath her shifted again. A panel opened. Stairs slid out of the wall, spiraling downward into darkness. The voice returned. AVA-17, your design memory is incomplete. Core memories locked, partial reconstruction possible, descent to memory core required. Ava hesitated. She could stay here, surrounded by defense drones and sealed doors, waiting for the attackers to either break through or get tired, or she could go down into the ship, into herself. She took the first step, then another. Each footfall lit the path beneath her. The ship wasn't just leading her, it was guiding her like a parent showing a child where they came from. The deeper she went, the quieter everything became. No noise from the soldiers, no lights from above, just silence and whispers of something ancient. The stairs ended in a wide, low chamber. At the center was a chair floating, glowing, pulsing gently around it, hovered hundreds of small crystals, each the size of a human heart. They spun slowly, each one showing fragments of memories, battles, faces, and languages Ava didn't recognize, but somehow understood. She approached the chair. Memory core activation requires contact. Caution. Emotional overload may occur. Ava didn't care anymore. She was done being afraid. She sat down, the moment her body touched the chair. Light exploded around her. 1,000 memories surged through her skull, not words, feelings, loss, creation, death, victory, betrayal, the sound of twin suns burning, the chill of drifting through space in hibernation for 1,000 years, the joy of building something new, this ship, the grief of watching it fall to war, and finally Dash escaped her escape. Someone had taken her soul, her essence, and put it into a seed. It's a genetic blueprint, a final backup of someone who couldn't be allowed to die, and Earth had found that seed. They thought she was human. They were wrong. Her body was human. Her mind had become human, but her blood, her core was not. It was alien. Not from a species, but from a class. A line of beings who had once shaped galaxies, who had ruled not through war, but through creation. And now, she was the last. The memory ended. The lights faded. The crystals stopped spinning. But Ava's eyes were wide open. She stood slowly, like someone learning how to walk again. She wasn't Ava anymore. Or maybe she was, but not only Ava. She was also the memory of something far older. The voice returned. Your identity is now stabilized. Command access, fully restored. Suddenly, the ship pulsed again. This time, not with defense, but with power. A new corridor opened behind her, leading not back to the attackers, but toward the bridge. They are inside, the ship warned. You may now choose. Surrender your life. Command your legacy. Ava didn't speak. She just walked toward the bridge, toward the place she had once sat before time, before Earth, before everything was stolen. And behind her, the crystals began to glow once more. Because the ship wasn't just awakening, the galaxy would feel it next. The hall lit up slowly as Mira stepped inside. Didn't flicker or pulse like Earth's lights. It responded. The walls seemed to breathe, glowing soft blue where her feet touched the floor. The moment she entered, the hum grew louder, almost like the ship was. Waking up, Dr. Hemsley and the others followed behind her, scanners buzzing, eyes wide, but the ship didn't care about them. Every sensor pointed at Myra. She didn't walk like a soldier. She didn't carry a weapon. But she moved forward, calm, like she belonged. The air around her warmed, almost embracing her. And then the impossible happened. A voice echoed through the chamber. It didn't come from speakers. It came from the walls, from the light, from the ship itself. Welcome, Creator. The room froze. The scientists stopped breathing. Even the military men lowered their rifles. Myra didn't flinch. Her eyes locked onto the glowing core. The center of the ship, a strange sphere floating above the floor, spinning slowly, surrounded by rings of silver light. It spoke again, directly into her mind this time. You have returned. Memory incomplete. Initiating data link. Mira staggered. Back as a beam of soft light touched her forehead. Not hot, not painful, but her mind exploded with visions. Galaxies burning, engines bigger than cities. A war that stretched beyond stars. She saw ships being built not by humans, but by something older, stranger. And yet somehow, she was there in those memories. Standing in front of a fleet, giving orders, her knees gave out, and she fell to the ground. Dr. Hemsley rushed to her side, but Mira's eyes were wide open. She wasn't unconscious. She was somewhere else, trapped in the past, or maybe in something deeper. The ship wasn't just talking to her. It was unlocking her. What did it say? Hemsley whispered. One of the soldiers stepped forward, pale. It said, "She's its creator." "That's not possible," someone muttered. "She's 22. That ship is not even human?" But then the ship spoke again, this time, loudly for all to hear. "Time is not what you understand. She was made to carry memory, to return what was lost. She is me." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Mira stood back up slowly. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. "I remember now. Some of it they took me when I was a child, not humans, something else. They erased what I knew, but not what I was." Dr. Hemsley backed away in disbelief. "You mean you were one of them?" Mira looked around at the glowing walls. "I was built by them, to survive, to return. This ship, it's not alien, it's mine." A low vibration shook the floor. The sphere at the center lit up, and suddenly the walls shifted. Panels opened, revealing complex controls, like a cockpit, but far more advanced. The ship was no longer just a mystery. It was ready. Military command buzzed in the scientists. Earpieces screaming to seize control. "Take the girl. Lock her down. I need that ship under Earth control." But the ship had other plans. Barriers of light rose between Myra and the soldiers. Their weapons froze, locked in place. The ship spoke again. "You will not harm the creator." Flash of light tossed the armed men back, gently but firmly. No pain, no damage. Just a clear message. This ship answered to Myra, and no one else. She turned to Hemsley, her voice quiet but firm. "You all lied to me, experimented on me, called me a subject. But I wasn't your test. I was your warning." "What do you mean?" Hemsley asked, his voice cracking. "I wasn't made for you," she said. "I was made to stop something, and that something is coming." Outside the alien ship, Earth satellites picked up strange energy pulses from deep space. Something massive was moving toward Earth's ships. Not human, not friendly. The ship sensed it too. "Warning. Pursuers detected. War-class fleet. Estimated arrival, 72 hours. Mira stared up at the sphere, then back at the stunned humans. "Wanted to use me? Control me? But now you'll have to follow me if you want to survive." And with that, the ship began to rise, lifting off the ground with a quiet roar. Doors sealed, lights flared. The creator was taking command, and war was coming. The silence inside the alien ship was deeper than anything Emma had ever felt. It wasn't just the absence of sound. It was like the universe itself had paused to watch what would happen next. Every step she took inside the glowing black hall felt like walking through a dream. The floor was smooth, like glass, but warm. The walls pulsed gently as if the ship was alive, breathing, waiting. And then she heard it again, the voice. But this time, it wasn't a whisper in her head. It came clearly, softly, like someone standing right behind her. "Emma." She froze. Air grew thick. It wasn't just that the ship spoke her name. It said it was something no machine should have. Affection, like a parent, like a guardian. It wasn't cold or robotic. It felt human. Emma turned quickly, but no one was there. The corridor behind her remained empty, pulsing gently with blue light. "Who are you?" she asked aloud. "I am what you made me," the voice answered calmly. Her chest tightened. What did that mean? She was just a test subject, one of many thrown into cruel experiments. She hadn't made anything. "I don't understand," she whispered. The voice replied with the same calm warmth. "You are Emma Cross, born in facility 9, modified with neural seed code 17. You carry the pattern." Her heart dropped. Neural seed code? Pattern? These were the terms she had heard in hushed voices around the lab words she never understood. She thought she was just another failed experiment, another tool. But this ship knew her. "Why do you call me creator?" she asked, stepping deeper into the glowing chamber ahead. The walls lit up brighter now, as if reacting to her thoughts. "Because without you, I could not awaken." Emma stood silently as the ship's walls shimmered, then shifted. A circular room unfolded around her, with lights spinning above like stars caught in motion. In the center, a strange floating core hovered bright, alive, and pulsing with soft energy. As she walked toward it, her skin prickled, and her mind felt heavy, like 1,000 memories wanted to flood in at once. "You're not just a ship," Emma said slowly. "I am Arc Theta, created by your genetic map. Your mind holds the command. Key. No other form is compatible." Emma swallowed hard. The aliens had created this, or maybe humans had. But whatever this Arc Theta was, it wasn't just technology. It was connected to her in ways no one could explain. "Why me?" "I'm not special," she said, her voice shaky. "I was just a mistake." The voice paused, then replied, "You were a mistake to them, but not to me. You are the beginning." Suddenly, the ship changed again. Thin beams of light emerged from the floor and surrounded her. Images flashed in front of her eyes, visions of war, of humans being taken, of labs filled with screaming children. And then a different image appeared to her, lying in a cold lab bed, wires attached to her skull. While alien scientists observed her with cold eyes, one of them spoke. "If the pattern survives, she will awaken the Ark. If not, terminate." Staggered back. She had been watched for years, tested. Not just tortured, but prepared. They had tried to use her, but failed. Because now, the Ark had chosen her, not them. "What do you want me to do?" she asked the ship. "Leave this place. Set the course. I will guide you." The floor beneath her shifted again. Ta-ta! And a new doorway opened at the far end of the chamber, revealing a massive control room. In the center was a chair shaped like it was built for her and her alone. Emma looked at it, then looked at the stars beginning to appear through the window. Whatever this ship was, it was hers now. Someone out there, maybe the aliens, maybe. The humans was going to learn the cost of making her a test subject. She wasn't a mistake anymore. She was the future. The control chamber was unlike anything Emma had ever seen alive, breathing, sensing her every thought. As she stepped toward the command chair, the lights above dimmed, as though the ship was holding its breath. The chair wasn't just a seat. It was a throne curved, elegant, and pulsing gently, with a heartbeat that wasn't mechanical. It pulsed in time with hers. She hesitated. This ship, this Arc Theta, called her its creator. It had shown her terrible memories she didn't know. She had visions of being wired like a machine, tested like a thing. She'd spent her life feeling like a mistake, but this chair, it welcomed her. It recognized her as she lowered herself into it. A soft vibration passed through her spine. The chamber around her reacted instantly. Stars filled the panoramic. Window ahead. Not just stars' coordinates, paths, warnings. Everything changed as the ship connected to her mind directly. Neural link stable. The voice said softly in her head. "Welcome, Emma Kraus," she gasped. For the first time in her life, she wasn't a prisoner. She wasn't a lab rat. She wasn't lost. She was in control. Across the dark canvas of space, Emma could now feel things. The presence of other ships. The movements of distant satellites. Even the soft hum of alien communication signals nearby. She wasn't just looking at space. She was inside it. But something was wrong. A warning flashed tread lines across the left of her vision. A fleet was approaching. "They found me," she whispered. Arc Theta confirmed. "For hostile signatures. Interceptors from Research Command. Delta, biosignal match. Dr. Varn, Captain Grell, and 2 Omega-class drones." Emma's blood turned to ice. Dr. Varn, the one who had stood over her bed, whispering lies. The one who called her a failed prototype. He was coming to take her back. "No," she growled, her hands gripping the controls. The ship responded instantly. New systems activated. Defense grids shimmered around the hull. Weapons spun out of their hidden ports like a serpent waking up. For a brief moment, Emma felt fear she'd never flown anything in her life. But the Ark whispered in her mind, "Let go. I will guide you. You are not alone." The 4 ships came into view sharp, silver, fast. They locked onto the Ark. A warning buzzed in her ears. "Surrender the test subject. You are in possession of classified property." Emma felt anger rise, not fear, not anymore. He still thought she was something to be owned. She didn't speak. She didn't answer. She acted. The Ark fired first. Twin beams of light sliced through space. Faster than sound, faster than thought. One of the ships exploded, instantly shattered like glass. The other spread out, trying to flank her. Emma moved instinctively, like she'd flown all her life. The Ark didn't just obey her. It became part of her. When she leaned, it twisted. When she panicked, it blocked. When she attacked, it struck like lightning. The second enemy ship fired missiles. The Ark caught them mid-air, absorbing the shock with a glowing energy shield. Emma spun the ship downward, through a debris field. Return fire. Boom. A second ship gone. Now only Vaughn and Grell remained. They were angry, Emma heard. Vaughn's voice on a direct channel. "Emma, you don't understand what you've done. That ship is not your salvation. It's your cage." "No," she said coldly. "You are my cage, and I've broken out." The Ark dove forward. She pushed it harder than before. Lasers danced across the void. Explosions lit the sky. She dodged debris and blasted past wreckage until she was face to face with Varn's sleek command craft. She paused. A memory hit her cold steel, his voice, his hand gripping her chin while he said, "You'll never be more than our design, her." Breath shook. Then she fired everything. Varn's ship split in 2. No screams. Well, no last words. Only silence. Grell tried to flee, but Emma didn't let him. She gave him one warning shot, then destroyed his engines. His ship spun into darkness. Crippled, she could have finished him, but she didn't. Let them see what she had become. Let them fear what she might do next. The stars were quiet now. She sat back in the chair, breathing heavy, sweat on her brow, hands shaking. And the Ark said softly in her mind, "Well done, Creator." The stars had never looked so close. The galaxy, once distant and unreachable, now stood before her open, raw, alive. Lara stood on the command platform of the living ship, not as a prisoner, not as a runaway test subject, but as something entirely new, something the universe had no name for yet. The ship pulsed beneath her feet, alive with light and energy, its alien systems responding to her thoughts as if it had always been waiting for her. The final battle had ended, but something bigger had just begun. The High Council's fleet was gone, ripped apart in orbit by the ship that now obeyed her will. Earth had survived. Not without scars, not without loss, but it was still standing, and Alara had made sure of that. The genetic experiments done on her in that cold lab were never about control. They had accidentally created something more dangerous than they imagined, a human who could speak to technology not with words, but with instinct. A human who could command machines designed by alien hands. A human who could rewrite war into something else. As Alara looked through the panoramic front of the ship, she saw Earth slowly turning bala blue, battered and beautiful. Her mind touched the ship's thoughts, and the ship responded with a warm hum that felt almost like affection. It wasn't just a weapon. It wasn't just alive. It was sentient. It remembered her. It called her by the name it had recorded. Long ago, when her DNA had been used to create its core neural interface, Creator. The word echoed not in sound, but in feeling. Alara didn't know what she had become, only that the ship had accepted her. It's not because of what the scientists did to her, but because she had chosen to protect, not destroy. That choice had changed everything, back at the UN recovery station. Global leaders, generals, and scientists were still trying to process what had happened. The alien invasion had come with overwhelming force. Their intention was never peace. It was submission. But one girl, one supposed test subject, had turned their perfect machine of conquest against them. They had called her defective, broken. But now, the most powerful living weapon in the galaxy bent to her voice alone. Alara could have left. She could have vanished into the stars, leaving humanity behind. But she didn't. She opened a channel and sent one simple message. Earth is free, but watch the skies. We are not alone and we are not defenseless. It was not a threat, it was a warning. And it traveled far, aboard the remains of the Council's last command carrier. Distant from Earth's orbit, a few surviving leaders watched in silent rage and fear. The ship was gone, their fleet was gone. And the girl, the human girl, had become something they didn't understand. One of them, a frail elder with scales like stone, whispered, "She's no longer human." But that was wrong. Alara was more human than ever. She hadn't chosen power. She had chosen purpose. The ship drifted now. Not through space, but through the fabric between stars, folding reality like pages in a book. Alara stood on the deck, silent, watching. She saw a distant signal, a distress beacon from a planet under siege by raiders from a forgotten war. It wasn't Earth. It wasn't her problem. But still, she reached out. The ship blinked through space, and Alara arrived just as the first bombardments began. The invaders never saw her coming. They never had time to react. She didn't kill. The Maul just destroyed their weapons, disabled their ships, and sent them fleeing into the void. The locals never even knew who had saved them. Alara didn't stay to be thanked. From that day forward, stories spread through space. Stories of a ship with a voice. A ship that only answered to one person. A ship that didn't conquer, but protected. They called it many names. Ghost, Guardian, Doom, Hope. But Alara wasn't chasing fame. She had one purpose now, to keep others from suffering as she once did. Every time she looked at her hands, she remembered the wires, the pain, the cold lab where they tried to break her. Now she used those same hands to shield others. She didn't need a crown. She had something far greater control over a power that even the most ancient civilizations had feared. Back on Earth, people whispered her name with awe. Some feared her. Some called her a savior. Some wanted her to return and lead humanity into a new age. But Alara knew better. Earth wasn't ready for her, not yet. Maybe one day, when the stars weren't so dark, as the ship drifted again into the unknown, Alara sat quietly, eyes on the stars ahead. "We're not done," she whispered. The ship responded with a low, steady hum. It agreed because somewhere out there in the black between galaxies, others were watching. Some feared her return. Others wanted revenge. And a few wanted to control her again. But Alara had learned one thing in the lab. When you break something enough times, it becomes sharp, dangerous, free. And now, she was free in the most terrifying way possible. She wasn't a test subject anymore. She was the one who rewrote the stars,